This. All right. So welcome, friends. Hey, I know some of you. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. We are going to get into our swap meet in a second here. Before we do, I'm going to share a different screen. Actually, I want to share this over here, and I want to do, where is it? Here it is. Sorry, I got so many screens going here. So, welcome. And this is our new lessons for the new school year swap meet. And Jazel swap meets, we try and swap ideas for, get some new thoughts from some new folks and friends and add some new tools to the toolkit. So hopefully you're gonna bring an idea and hopefully you're gonna take a couple of ideas. If you haven't and you want to, you can add a lesson to, if you scroll down to like 17, 18, 19, we got some blank slides there if you want to put something on them. We can add more if you need more. That's not a problem. And yeah, so if you want to throw some stuff on there, that's great. Before we dive in, I want to take a second and hopefully y'all are still looking at the safe spaces statement. Yeah, okay, great. So I want to take a second. You may have noticed this when you were signing into our Zoom, but Jazel has a safe spaces statement that we try and use at the beginning of our meetings. And I have been remiss in not making sure I include it as part of our presentations when we're doing webinars. So I want to make sure that I get this in here. So our NJSL safe spaces statement goes as follows. This is a safe space for open, honest, and respectful communication. We acknowledge that our personal experiences, values, and opinions differ. Therefore, we honor the following ground rules for discussion in this group. We agree that everyone present in this meeting has equal worth and deserves to be heard. We agree to check our personal biases and refrain from making judgments about the words or actions of others. We agree to respect each other's humanity. We forgive as needed and learn from our mistakes. And we agree to utilize active listening and make it our goal to listen to understand. I know that a couple of our lessons may go into some interesting areas, so I just want to make sure that we're all on board and we're being respectful of each other and listening to each other. And we also have our NJSL community agreements. Again, this was in the pop-up screen when you were logging in, but I want to make sure that everybody is aware of it. What is said here stays here. What is learned here leaves here. Now, I will point out that we are recording, so what is said here will be on the recording, but hopefully what is learned here will leave here. Share the air. Be aware of how much you're talking versus listening, or how much you are listening versus talking. We'd really love to have everybody who wants to participate. You don't have to participate if you don't want to, but everybody is invited to, so we'll try and bear that in mind. Engage in curiosity-driven conversations. Remember, the goal of our conversations is to offer and receive different perspectives, not to debate or argue. Absolutely, I'm going to invite people, as one person is sharing a lesson, if somebody else wants to chime in and ask a question or ask for a clarification, please do. We want to try and learn from each other, so I hope that we can respect that as we go along. And I'm going to remind us to listen with compassion. Everyone's experiences are different, and that is how we are all able to bring our own unique perspectives to the table. Maybe there's something here that somebody's going to talk about doing and loving, and you've tried it, and it was like, no, it didn't work for me. That's okay. Not everything's for everybody, but let's try and give everybody the benefit of the doubt, and hopefully we can come away with some new thoughts, new ideas, maybe even some new ways of doing something we've done before. So our swap meets kick off with basically the host, me, kind of sharing a lesson. And I was going to actually offer our first lesson. I'm going to invite one of our attendees to share first because I'll get to that in a minute. But then people are invited to share if they wish. You are not required to, but it'd be great if you did. And hopefully everybody comes away with a few new tools for the toolbox. After our event is over, not tonight necessarily, but in the next couple of days, it's been a long week. So in the next couple of days, I'll be sending out an email with a link that'll you'll be able to click on to fill out some stuff to get a PD certificate for 1 hour of PD. There also will be a link to this slide deck so that you'll have it for reference for the future. And we do try to offer at least one different PD opportunity every month, virtually and sometimes in person. We try to post everything on our calendar, which you can see at njsl.org/librarianpd. And we've added some stuff in the past couple of weeks. We're going to be adding more stuff as we go along. So it's always a good idea to kind of just swing through, check it out, see what's going on there. And actually, there's one other thing that I'm going to mention now. So just in case, because sometimes we get short on time and I skip the last slide, but I'm not thanking you for joining us. I am thanking you for joining us, but we're not done. I just want to point out that in addition to our PD calendar, we also have a PD YouTube channel and Jazel PD. So when we do record our events, we try to get them posted on our PD channel so that you can check them out whenever you get the chance to. So I think that is our preamble complete. Okay, so with our preamble complete, usually I will kick things off because I think you should lead by example, but I want to offer the opportunity to Amy to share her lesson first, because the fact of the matter is this webinar is happening because Amy suggested that we maybe should be thinking about this. So I really appreciate that she brought this idea to us, and I wanted to offer her the opportunity to kick us off if she wanted to. Amy, no pressure. You don't want to, that's okay.
Sure, no problem. I definitely am. Thank you so much for thank you for introducing everything and giving me this opportunity. So I'm so glad we're doing this webinar. So my lesson that I put in to the slide deck is a very introductory lesson to elections. And, obviously this is a big presidential election. So before I would, share this with my probably just fourth and fifth graders, I would definitely, talk to them first about that voting is a very private decision. Voting is anonymous, and that whatever views they have should be kept to themselves, just because there could be very strong views. So by saying that, so I made up this slideshow. I had done something like this for the 2020 election, and I just did a few background slides about the history of voting. That some countries, do not have, a democratic process where they get to choose their leader, but the United States does, and so we're lucky about that. And then really the main, and then I also mentioned that that there were groups of people that did not have the right to vote for a long time. And I also mentioned, on the next slide, that some places still people have a hard time voting, and there's still some obstacles. I think there's, not sure if it's in the video I put in the slideshow, but I did find at some point I found one, it was either a book. I know what it was. I don't know if anyone knows the book, The Archivist. It came out last year. Yeah, there's a great page in there where it shows someone really preventing someone from mailing in their ballot. I think that's what the page shows. So anyway, I've talked about that. It is a challenge for some people still to vote. People still make it a little more difficult for some. So anyway, a big turn and talk would be, why is it important for everyone to have that right? And then different people that citizens vote for. So even in 2024, it's not only the president, but there are a lot of other races going on. But I think one of the main things I emphasize in the lesson is the power of the Electoral College, and how it really is a big factor in who wins the election. So I found this infographic, I guess when I was doing the 2020 election preparation. So this really shows students like how many electoral votes each state has. And I think it creates a good, it's a great like focal point for them to really talk about like, well, is it fair that, New Jersey has 14 electoral votes, but Wyoming is so much bigger and has only 3, or, California has 55 and, like Rhode Island has 4. So there can be discussion around that. And then the next slide has a little video, um, which is fairly, I think it's fairly old now. I used this in 2020, but I found it to be really good. I don't know how long it is, but um, it seemed, I think it's like, um,
Every 4 years,
so it's like, how many, is that
Looks
7?
like three and change, almost 4.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, they're definitely, their attention span can manage watching it. And it's pretty good. It really illustrates, I think I'm not sure if it was when it was made, but it really illustrates like how the electoral college works. And then I guess the following side would be things to like think about, like to facilitate a discussion at different tables. Like, why do you think the electoral college is important? Do you think it should be abolished? And then students can talk with their group about what they learned and their opinion of that institution. And that would pretty much probably be the focal point and not so much the candidates. And then I just put a link. There are lots of different places to learn about voting, but Pebble Go Next has a pretty simplified uh, article, I guess you would say, on voting, but there's a lot of other links you could put, like, World Book or whatever database you have. We just have Pebble Go Next and World Book. Um, I mean, you could also put another thing I just thought of. You could put different titles of actual print books if students wanted to learn more.
Love that.
Hmm.
I love this
So that's
too.
it.
Like
Yeah.
I could see this. You use it with 4 and 5s. I could see this even aging up and using it as a piece for like um argument and debate or like persuasive essay writing. And even if it was only focused on the electoral college, that'd be interesting. And you could even tie it in like the list of people that you're voting for. It'd be interesting to have school board in there. And like school
Oh
board
yeah.
members
Yeah.
in New Jersey get elected. So that's a and then but they don't have an electoral college. So should they?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I think
Good
a lot
point.
of possibilities there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you. So, yeah. Everyone's free to use anything they want from the slideshow. Um, so I'm planning to do the lesson probably in a few weeks, and just cross my fingers. Everything. I think it should go fine because it went okay in 2020, and it was same kind of high tensions. So yeah.
Hopefully our 4 and 5s aren't too too, I don't want to say jaded, too pre-programmed at that point, but
Yeah, or passionate about, I don't, but yeah. So thank you. I don't know if anyone has any questions or, um, but, oh, hi, Esther.
I was gonna say, when you showed the list of governor, senators, I noticed when we were talking about during our state reports this is a good opportunity to tell them who our senators are, who our governor is, mayors. We're in TNEX, so we have like a different kind of a voting system and a different kind of government, town government, but they don't realize we're in Bergen County. So they don't
Right.
realize how many towns there are in Bergen County. I just think this is a good opportunity to talk about our government in general, our local government in general.
Yeah, no,
Great.
yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, I agree. And I know that New Jersey government used to be in our fourth grade curriculum and it's not in there anymore. So, the teachers, I just continue teaching about that in fourth grade. Because the teachers, they've asked me to, and I don't think, I don't know about every school district, but, I'm not sure if really schools cover that so much anymore.
And then the other thing I was going to say because you touched upon this in the beginning about how a lot of countries do not even allow, they don't. So I haven't done this in a while because our curriculum has changed. We used to do countries in fifth grade, and then we would talk about what's the difference between a democracy, a monarchy. Our kids know Israel, so that's a parliamentary democracy. What is the difference between all these things? And they don't know until you teach them, because and then it's like, wow, there's a big hole here. So I'm not quite sure where our curriculum keeps changing, but I think that this is just a good year. It's a good time if you can, take the opportunity and go kind of review this with them or teach it to them. Might not be a review. It'll be a.
And I think that's a good point too, that this could become like a stepping stone in compare contrast. Like, how
Yeah.
is federal government different than local government? How is
Right.
US government different than Canadian government? Like, there's and then maybe there's some research involved. Like, you could build in some research skills. So
Yeah,
this
what's
is,
a king? What's a president? What's head of state? They also don't understand that the head of state is different than the head of the government. Those are, in some countries, it's a prime minister, So these are things that's more like on a fifth grade level, but certainly they should be aware of these differences.
I
Yeah,
love
I
the
agree.
standalone lesson, and I can see it really being built out too as part of a larger curriculum.
All right. Well,
Awesome.
thank you. Thank you for all the input and thank you for allowing me to share. I'll hand it over again to Steve.
Thank you so much, Amy. That's a great lesson. Very excited to play with that with my teachers and students. I'm in the middle school, but I can already see my wheels are turning already. So the lesson that I'm sharing is 5 kinds of nonfiction, which the slide deck is, if you click where it says 5 kinds of nonfiction, or you click on the slides, it'll pop up and you should be able to, I think, you should be able to make a copy if you want to grab one. So I built this for my middle schoolers, but it could absolutely be aged up or down. I actually got this idea from Tom Bober, who works with littles. So he does this with his, I want to say his 2s and 3s, if I'm recalling correctly. But he's working with a much younger population, and he finds that this is a really useful tool for the students to be able to start to see that there's different kinds of nonfiction. Because I'll be honest, until I heard Tom talk about it, I don't think I realized there were different kinds of nonfiction. And so Tom built on the work of author Melissa Stewart, who is the person who sort of coined this idea of 5 kinds of nonfiction and kind of broke it into the categories. And I have found that when I use this with my students, the teachers who are sitting in go, oh, I didn't know that. So it's a really great learning opportunity for lots of people, I think. And I use this to help genreify my nonfiction section. I've only got I've got a much smaller space than probably just about anybody. So it was relatively easy to do, but it's a little bit of a work in progress. But yeah, so that is absolutely something that people are more than welcome to take advantage of. It basically just starts with like we're going to talk about this thing. All of these pictures are pictures of books in our library so that the students can end up going and tracking them down. But obviously they can be changed out or you can leave them. I mean, whatever works. And I start by just reminding them like some things to think about when we're thinking about nonfiction. It's not a format, it's not a topic. It is factual information, firsthand or carefully researched, possible to present in any format because we've got graphic novels, verse novels, we've got prose. It can arrive to us in lots of different ways. And I try to make sure I point out that it should be cited if we're getting good nonfiction, just as a little reminder to tie in with some of our other lessons. I start by just asking, like, what do you think the 5 types are? And when I do this, I have the students sitting in small groups around the library, and I've got each group has a couple of books that are a different kind of nonfiction. And so like one group will be looking at one type and one group will be looking at another type. And so I asked them like, okay, you've got some books in front of you. We're going to think about this. And this slide happens to have an example of each of the 5 types from our library. So I say, well, just if you had to guess, like, what do you think they would be? And they will say like, oh, graphic novels or, like dictionaries. And I'm like, yes, those are both can be nonfiction, but let's see if we can get a little further with it. And so then we start to break it down into the categories. And I explain to them like, okay, so here's what narrative is. Here's definitions, and here's some examples from our library. And again, covers from our library. Then we do expository literature. So I should slow down just in case you're not familiar with it. Narrative nonfiction is basically nonfiction that's written as though it's a story. And it reads very much like character setting plot, rising action, falling action sort of presentation, but it's actually real stuff that really happened. Expository literature is more of it's an interesting piece of writing about a topic. So it's really meant to be very engaging. And while it provides information, it's sort of story-like, but it's not necessarily following the format of a story. Traditional nonfiction, kind of more like a textbook. Like, here is a topic, here is information about that topic. These often come in series, or when you open them up, you'll see textbook-like structuring and elements. They can come in lots of different sizes and formats, but they basically are there to just give you a bunch of information about a particular topic. Browsable is a favorite category, something you can pick up, flip through, doesn't matter. You don't have to start at the beginning, just wherever you happen to open it up to, you're good to go. And active, something that's going to show you how to do something. And so we play around with some of the different ways that we can do stuff based on what we get from books. So having talked about what the categories are, I tell them to look to the books that are on their tables again. I say, okay, based on what we just talked about, what type of book is on your table? And so they look and they read and they talk to each other for a couple of minutes. And then the ones that have browsable and active usually are like, they're right there. They know pretty much instantly what they're looking at. The others can be a little trickier, but they tend to puzzle it out together. So like I'll kind of float around, and if they feel like if I think they're getting stuck, I might point them at a particular aspect of one of the titles and help them kind of get to the right place. But then I'll ask them as a group, okay, group, who thinks they've got theirs figured out? And then we kind of go through, and they usually are pretty good at figuring that out. I do remind them it's possible that a book might fit in more than one category because these aren't set in stone, and they're more guideposts to help us think about how we look at and choose the books that we want to read rather than hard and fast rules. Because they absolutely have some books that somebody will say, well, it sort of looks like it's expository, but it seems like it's telling a story. So I'm not sure which category. I was like, you know what? Could be both. That's okay. I remind them about our library stuff because at this point I turn them loose to browse the nonfiction section, and they start to, grab. So we talk about, here's our library policies. And once I've gotten through that, I ask them if there's questions, and then they dive in. So it's a relatively quick lesson, but I have gotten lots of positive feedback from the students and from the teachers about, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's a great thing for us to know when we're coming to look for stuff. One of the things Tom talks about is that his teachers would often tell the students, we're going to the library and you have to pick a nonfiction book. And so the kids come in and they'll ask Tom as the librarian, like, where are the nonfiction books? Like, well, they're over there, but what are you looking for? I need nonfiction. Well, okay, but what kind of nonfiction? Like, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? Is this just for your enjoyment? Is this something that you're doing research? Like, once you start digging into the different types, it helps you to start thinking about the task that you might have for those different types. So it can help the students locate what they're looking for. And when the teachers are overhearing this, they start to go, oh, maybe we need to think about being a little more specific when we talk about the kids need nonfiction. So Tom has found it extremely useful and has he has pretty much trained the teachers in his school now that like, there's 5 types and we want to think about them individually so that we can help the students find really what they're looking for and meet their tasks. So that is there. You are more than welcome to take, use, enjoy. Before I go on, I'll just ask questions, comments, concerns.
Steve, I will add that Tom has done the extremely useful thing and that I am planning to do. He has color coded his entire nonfiction section so that you can tell by looking, oh, this is browsable, this is narrative, and it's in the sublocation in Destiny also.
Yeah. I want to say that's my next thing, but it's on my to-do list. I'm going to get there eventually, but
Same.
Yeah, I just wanted to say it's a wonderful lesson. Yeah, this is something I could definitely do. I could just, change the books a little bit for 4th and 5th graders or even 3rd. I mean, you're right. It's totally adjustable to all different kinds of grades. And the other thing that's great is to get them more interested in nonfiction because I don't know about all of you, but the graphic novels are like the most popular books, and like it's fine. I mean, I don't mind that those are popular, but I think they forget that there's so many other books, available. So I think it's great. Thank you.
It's also interesting too that when you start looking at the graphic novels, like looking at the content carefully, a lot of them are narrative, but not all of them are narrative. So you can kind of like help the kids see like, oh, there are actually different genres within what we think of as a narrow silo. Go ahead, Esther.
Steve, thank you for this. I don't present it like this, but when the kids come in, we do several round robins. I don't know, but if everybody's familiar with that, we call it round robin, but the kids come and our tables are round. So when the kids come in, if we're doing, we could do from 3rd grade to 7th grade, they do at least 2 or 3 round robins a year. So we introduce them to different genres. But when I do the nonfiction, I didn't realize that these are what it's called. I mean, narrative nonfiction, I know because that's my favorite. But we mix it up and we give them a sample. So they're sampling 6 different things. So they're not sampling them as a group. They're sampling them individually. I just never called it these things before. One of the things that I find frustrating with the graphic novels, and we have very, very few, of our 20,000 books, we have very few graphic novels because I'm thinking that we have a great public library and they can get the graphic novels there. But I do have graphic nonfiction. But I've been disappointed in the lack of, you have to know something about the topic in order for you to understand the graphic novel. You just are not, with a lot of them, I have found. But I'm still looking for those. But they are interested in all different types of nonfiction. Some of them like the narrative, some of them like the browsable, some of them just like want a quick look up, some of them like, but they don't necessarily love the graphic nonfiction. Because again, you can't follow the story if you don't have any kind of basis frame, some kind of reference. But anyway, so I kind of do something like this, but on an individual basis. So they are sampling different, and it's great because it really exposes them. Otherwise they have no idea. Like they come and they go, want nonfiction. They don't know what they want. They don't even know how to ask for what they want. So this kind of gives them something.
Yeah, we've got to help them have the vocabulary so they know.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I forgot to mention, I did throw links on here to Melissa Stewart's website where she has a bunch of teachers who have worked with this based on, her suggestions. They've written pieces about here's how I use it in my school and here's how it went with different teachers. So like there's tons of supporting like additional ideas or extra information. And this link goes to, I actually did a podcast episode with Tom Bober about this. So if you want to hear him talk about it, because he's definitely more of a master of it than I am. But there's a couple of additional resources there in case you want them. So So that's that. Lindsay, I think, is not here. I think she said she wasn't gonna be able to make it, but she did share some lessons. She wanted to give some pieces of information for folks to be able to work with. So she's got AI in education, which I'm sure we all are hearing a lot about and we may need to get into. So she's got her lesson plan. She did a video bit. So, and this is interesting. She asked Gemini to improve a previous lesson that I uploaded. That's an interesting way to use some AI. And she's got worksheets. So she really provided quite a bit of material here. It's got standards. I mean, she really has done this up as a real nice lesson. And then she's got the video, which this is a real.
This is why you should avoid mixing Barbie with biased AI image generators. What does a typical prisoner look like? What about a lawyer, a nurse, a drug dealer? What about a fast food worker?
I don't know if you guys are getting the audio on that, but it's really interesting. That video goes on for a while, but even just the first couple of minutes of it really makes you go, wow, that's something to think about. So showing that to students is definitely going to engage some discussions. And then it looks like she's got some worksheets here too that you can print so that students can, I love this, scenarios that you could do as conversations or as written responses. So this would be some great stuff you could pair up with a writing teacher or with an argument and debate teacher. Love that. And then she's got researching with EBSCO, which is great. Lesson plan was created using Google Gemini. Ask Gemini to improve a previous lesson. So that's interesting that she is taking advantage of that. That's great. So she's got a time in here. This is very interesting. So yeah, I mean, we all probably have our different ways of different databases, but this one might give you some thoughts or some ideas about different ways to go about it. Or hey, maybe you want to start using Google Gemini to do your lessons. So we got some different things we might be able to learn from there. So thank you, Lindsay, even though you're not here. Kim, do you want to share what you brought us?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm coming from a elementary school, grades K through 8. So I did this lesson with my kindergarten class last year. This year I'm planning on extending it to first and second grade as well. I went through a company called Student Treasures Publishing Company. StudentTreasures.com is the website. I'll put it in the chat for you guys. Basically, if you click on the link, I included some slides there. What happened? Send the access. I can share. Is it gonna do it? Let's see.
If you change the permissions, it should be able to, should follow over.
Okay. Hold on, let me try to go in. But while I'm doing that, basically we had a lesson on what an author is and what an illustrator does, what they do. Again, this is kindergartners, so very simple lesson of who writes the story, who draws the pictures, and I got them all excited about becoming authors and illustrators. So so I explained to them that we were going to do a class book. I'm trying to get to, okay. I explained to them that we're going to do a class book, and we chose a common theme. We chose animals in their homes because they like to talk about animals. A lot of them in the class had animals during that time in the home. So that's something that was a common ground for everybody. Oh man, is there any way I can just share my screen, Steve?
I think so. Let's see.
That way, it'll be quicker that way.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop and then I think you can dive in and start sharing.
All right. It won't stop your recording or anything, will it?
No, nope.
Okay. All right. So let me do that. Let me try to share my screen.
The illustrator part seems particularly timely, as I don't know if folks saw it, but on social media, there was a little bit of a thread going recently about making sure that we do give credit to illustrators as well as the authors.
Mhm.
There was, I think it was Publishers Weekly recently started doing that as part of their listings for new materials that are coming out, which was getting some praise.
Okay, are you guys seeing the screen
Yep.
in the slides? Okay, great. All right, let me hurry up and get there. Where I am. Okay. Just a moment. I think I'm right here. Yeah. Okay, so basically I got all of the information from student treasures. Are you seeing where it says let's make a book, class book?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right. So basically we come up with a theme. You know, you get them all excited about being published authors and illustrators. And the packet comes with the materials that you need, front and back covers. It gives you explicit instruction of how to go step by step. It took about, because they are kindergartners, it took about maybe a whole month to do this project. Because, you know, with them being absent or, you know, with their writing limited, you know, a lot of them, it took a lot of, you know, trace the letter first and then now you write the letter, you know, that type of thing. So they give you all the materials that you need. So first we planned a cover page. On the cover page, I had students to one of maybe three of my best students that can draw really well, because I had like 3 kindergartners that drew really well. And once they came up with their animals, they drew some of the animals for the cover page, not all the animals, because we had a total of about 15 kids that did it. So we featured about maybe 4 or 5 animals on the cover page. Let's see, let's get to, okay. So how they did it, they picked their animal. Once they picked the animal, we did the illustrations first. So if they picked the mouse, you know, I said, okay, we talked about where does a mouse live, or where does a dog live? Where does a cat live? And we made a list in our classroom, in our library, we made a whole list, and they drew their pictures first. So we got that out the way. We did the artwork first. That was the fun part, drawing. After which we came up with some sentences, at least 2. This is a dog. A dog lives in a kennel. So at least 2 sentences. It was rough pulling it out from them, but they really worked very hard. That's why I really pushed for the parents to purchase the book as a keepsake, because you know, kindergarten child writing for the first time, you know, is something that you want to keep forever. So a lot of the parents they purchased the book around graduation. It came in around graduation time, moving up ceremony time. So they had a chance to purchase it, and it was just authentic work. You know, once you have the kids to draw the picture and write their sentences, you put it all together and they give you a box to ship it back to the company. And once you ship it back, the parents have the option of purchasing hardcover or paperback. The hardcover, of course, was a little bit more than the paperback book. And it had gloss. The hardcover was more glossier than the paperback book. If the parent wanted to order more than 1 book, they received a link. They could do it on their own. They can pay cash, they can pay money order. I'm sorry, they did check or money order, no cash. Check or money order, or they can do it online themselves with their card. So a lot of times, most of the times, I didn't have to deal with anybody's money or checks or anything like that. They just went online and they paid for it, and I get a notification that a parent paid for a book for their child and how many copies they paid for. It gets shipped to the school. It gets shipped to the school, and once it comes in, then I give it to the parents that way. If it's after the cutoff date, it will get shipped to their homes. So even right now, if they went back to that website, even though their child is in first grade now and they still wanted the book, they can go back. It's up to a year and some months, that a year and a half, they can go back and order the book and still get that keepsake. It's the children enjoyed it. It was something that they were proud of, I want to extend it to first and second grade, seeing that the kindergarteners were so excited about it. I just think that is something that will make the students or the children more proud of the work that they do with literacy, not just creating something, but you're learning in the process of how authors and illustrators create books and how things are published. So it's like almost like 2 lessons in one, teaching about authors and illustrators, and also the publishing process to students as well. So if you go to studenttreasures.com, you can order. It's free. You just fill out the registration form, and they're going to ask you questions like, are you doing this for elementary or middle school? I don't think they do it for high school. I think it's more so elementary and middle school. How many students? So they know how many kits to send you. And they send extra just in case, because they know, it's if the kids mess up, you have more than enough material to start over, or you have extra material there if you need it. Any questions? I mean, we went into with the kindergarteners, it's very difficult to do the whole writing process. You kind of gotta like move around, basically. If you get it in one shot and it's good, take it. Don't worry about the editing or revising. Just take it. If it's a full sentence with a punctuation at the end, take it. Because if you keep pushing and probing on it, they get irritated and then they don't want to do it. So just be proud for the 1 or 2 sentences that has a punctuation, a beginning, a subject, a predicate, and a punctuation, and be happy with it. But
I love that
I
you're getting them.
definitely say do it, for the older grades as well too.
Yeah, I could absolutely see this being a great class project that they could work on. And I love that you're getting them to understand the book creation process by having them create a book. Like, what a great feeling that's going to be for them to be able to say, oh yeah, I wrote a book, just like in the library.
Absolutely.
Very fun.
I'll stop sharing. But the links are there. The links are there. The link is here. I'm going to have to change the settings so that everybody can have access to it. Okay.
That'd be great.
Will
Awesome.
do.
Thanks so much, Kim.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
thank you, Kim. Yeah,
You're
it's a
welcome.
great idea. I can't believe you did it with kindergarten. So
It was
kudos to
a
you.
task, trust me. But the end result was great. The end result, to see the smiles on their faces and the parent faces, it was worth it all.
Worth all the headaches. That is awesome. I'm excited that we've got Illinois in the house to share with us. So
I am from Illinois. However, I currently live in Kansas and have for a
that's
little,
right.
like 15 years now. No, it's cool because there's Illinois in all of my social handles. So
That's
that makes sense.
where my head went. My apologies. But Amanda, thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing. Do you want to tell us a little about your lesson?
Absolutely. I'm Amanda McCoy. I'm from Kansas. Thank you so much for allowing the rest of us to jump into. This is such a great idea. I am sharing today a 5-week unit that we do K through 5 in the spring. We do a school-wide humor award. I read books throughout the year, and I have a couple different places that I go to find like the best and the funniest books from the previous publication year. So I'll round up the 2024 books here pretty soon and choose 8 of them. And we will read 2 at a time in classes K through 5. Everybody is reading the same book, so we have that same shared text that we can reference that everybody can talk about among the school. It's really, really fun. We often have time in those classes to do a little work with like, hey, let's talk about sequence, because we talked about that earlier in the year, or let's talk about how the character is developed in this. We do a lot of talk about visual inferencing. In fact, before this unit starts, in every grade level, we do whatever the 5th grade inference lesson, we do the kindergarten inference lesson. I failed to put it on here, but I use the New York Times What's Going On in This Picture. It's just a picture presented without any context at the beginning of the week, and students throughout the world really can submit answers about what they think is going on, and they reveal the caption at the end of the week. But they have an archive, and it is fantastic for getting kids to notice the little details that are going to make a big difference when we're looking at these humorous picture books, because so much of the details really add either humor or like depth to the story. We in 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade keep our own score sheets. And so the students have those each week. They use our whiteboards, like individual whiteboards, as a hard writing surface. On the back of that whiteboard, I have taped clickers so that at the end of reading, we can do a quick check of like which book was more popular in this class this week. So you can kind of see week by week which one is winning. And then when we are all done, we spend a week looking back through the books, picking out the pieces that we liked the very most, and creating either a slide or a video, depending on the grade, depending on the year, stating our choice and talking about why we feel that way. I have several sentence stems provided for our 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. And then it's really just like a little fill in the blank for kindergarten, 1st grade. So we can say our one sentence and we can say it with conviction, and they can talk as much as they want to after that. It's great. But I really, really believe strongly in facilitating whole school shared experiences in the library. I think that is a superpower, especially that we have in elementary. When we're on a fixed schedule like I am, I know I'm going to see every single student in the whole school, and that's fantastic. It really allows discussion of reading between grade levels. I often have the voting bulletin board that we use up during parent-teacher conferences, and it's fun to see a kid drag their parent over and say, oh my gosh, this is the book that I voted for, because we do some visual voting too. So they add a sticker that's a different color based on their grade level. So that's really fun to see them engage their parents in that. And then I find that our kids are so often asking for humorous books. They want picture books that are funny. They want chapter books that are funny. They want nonfiction that's funny. So we're leaning into what they ask for and what they want. I have in the title of this a link to my website where I go into more detail and let you see some of the score sheets. I have links to those that you're welcome to make copies of. I have links to our Humor Voting Award, the sentence stems that we use for voting. There's a picture of our visual bulletin board that we use to vote at the end of the unit. And it's great. I've done some version of this for a long time, and I really, really enjoy it. And I think the kids really do also, based on the engagement that it gets.
I love that you have this up during back to school night, and you are doing stealth promotion of the library when the kids are coming in all excited. Mom, Dad, look. Brilliant. Brilliant. Man, this is so fun. And I'm looking at some of these titles. I see How Dinosaurs Went Extinct. What a funny book. Oh my gosh, loved it so much. Man, that's awesome. And I can't agree more that like getting the whole school involved in something, giving them that common experience and a common language to be able to talk across grade levels, which so rarely happens, it seems like. Love it.
Yeah, I also think this is great, Amanda. It gives me some good ideas. I've never done a school-wide project like this. Every year I do the Caldecott vote with my younger classes. But this is a great idea. Great idea. So thank you.
absolutely loving it. We're getting a little short on time, and I want to just, oh, Beth's not here, and I don't think Emily's here. Okay, never mind. If we've got more questions for Amanda, we can ask them because we've got time. Yeah, and I love too that you've got the link to the website. So we've got all the materials right there. I've never heard of 100 Mighty Dragons all named broccoli. I mean, now clearly I've got my reading list here of what I'm going to hit the next time I go to the library. Oh, love it. Love it. Love it. All right. Well, I think then we will go on to Beth Raff's lesson. I don't think she was able to make it, but she shared a scavenger hunt, which I love. Not just a scavenger hunt, but multiple scavenger hunts. And giving credit where credit is due, Melissa Corey, if you don't follow her online, you absolutely should, or bookmark her webpage because she is constantly sharing so many of the resources that she creates in Canva. They're really great. And I love that Beth has shared some links right to some of her projects so that we can make our own copies of them if we are so inclined. We've placed 26 snails around the library. I love the idea of just finding little snails. Oh boy, that's awesome. She plays clues to feature different parts of the library too. Oh, that's a great idea too. She's also created I Spy sheets and visual book lists. I don't know when she sleeps because Melissa Corey is amazing. You absolutely should check out all of her stuff. But this is great. I love, and like something like that would be so, you can go to the dollar store, find whatever is super cheap and get a million of them and then just all over your library. Love it. And then Emily, I don't think is here. No, I don't think Emily's here. But Emily shared student book recommendation display, another awesome idea. And I love that she does it as a lesson. It's not just like, I've seen people do this as just sort of a, students can recommend books and we'll lay them out, but to do it as a lesson and talk about product recommendations and like what makes a good recommendation, that's a great idea. Talking about doing a little reading, taking notes, writing the book blurb together. Great. And then watch 2 book talks to you and used a planning sheet to write a brief book blurb for a library book we'd recommend. Students wrote book blurbs on sticky notes and the books with the rec became a library display. Love it. Love a sticky note recommendation, and link to her lesson on how she did this, which is great. Nice, 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 nice. And then Tasha, I think Tasha is here.
I am. I just snuck in there.
Awesome. Great.
I figure I'm stealing things, so I'm just like, I should be contributing, right?
No, that's awesome. I really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I just threw in something I'm doing this year with my student volunteers. We all need help with managing our libraries, unless you have several assistants, which most people don't have. And so I have 75 student volunteers this year, and I found that like having them actually have their name on the shelf is a huge deal to them. They will come and check it incessantly. They are going to tell me which books, you don't have the 3rd book of this series. So I also have for them this like little recommendations thing that I got from Shannon McClintock Miller. And it's a QR code in my library where they can get to a link. If you click, make recommendations, it's just a Google form where they can make a recommendation and say why that book is needed in the library. So that helps me with my books selection. And yeah, again, they're coming around during back to school night showing their parents their shelf. This is my shelf. Look how neat it is. Everybody else's is not as great as mine. Yeah, it's amazing. And they're fighting for shelves too. They're, when we first chose shelves, no, I need mystery, or I need sci-fi, or I need historical fiction because that's my genre. And some kids were like, I'll do the nonfiction. I love decimals, so yeah, it's a great opportunity for that. So thank you for letting me participate.
That's awesome, man. I never would have thought to make it like, let them make their own little plaques for their shelves and stuff. Oh boy, I just started getting my volunteers showing up, so I'm kind of figuring out how many I actually have, but 75, 65, 75. That's just
Yeah,
amazing.
75. I had to cut it off. Last year it got to be over 100.
That's like one kid per book.
I have a lot of shelves in my library. I have a lot of work to do, so no
That-
worries.
Man.
Yeah,
Well, this is great. Thank you so much for sharing this.
Yeah, this is great. Tisha, I love the adopt a shelf. I think that's awesome too, that they can just concentrate on one shelf. That's that's like a manageable goal for them too.
Yeah, and
So
some of them
great
actually,
idea.
some of them asked for an additional shelf, and I granted that wish, so they can have a second one.
And again, like you were saying, the students coming in, bringing their parents to show off their shelves, getting that stealth advocacy in there. Brilliant. And this is something you could do, like I imagine at pretty much any grade level. Like if you have students who want to help in the library and they're just taking care of just one shelf, like that seems really manageable. Man,
One more
okay.
thing I should add with my volunteer program, I do keep track of the times that they spend with me. So they have to scan in and scan out of my library in a kiosk. And so we keep track of their time. So if they're doing it for community service hours for CCD or some other reason, they get at the end of the program a letter and a certificate that says how many hours spent in the library for the school year. So it's dual. It's like community service. It's all the things. So
That's awesome. Is there a particular program you use for tracking?
everything's Canva. In fact, let me see if I could probably add the link to the certificate that I use to give them. Let me see. Hold on.
In terms of tracking the hours though, when they're scanning and
Oh, okay. So we use Genesis for our school attendance, and so that kiosk is created with Genesis. They put their student ID number in. I created badges for them, volunteer badges. On the back is a barcode that I created on like, I don't know, like Avery.com. You can put a barcode number and then it prints out a label, and I just put a label on the back of their badge. So they scan in and scan out like on a library scanner. And that way, at the end of the year, I can just create a report from Genesis, and I, just a simple like formula that says how many hours. It's usually 20-minute chunks for each lunch period. So yeah, I use that to import into a form letter, like how many hours they spent in the library.
that is awesome. I have IDs for my kids, but I never thought to put a barcode that they could just scan. Oh boy.
Yeah, that was a game changer because I have so many. Sometimes some of the periods I have like 20 of them in it. So I have 6 lunch periods. So the 75 is across 6 20-minute chunks. And so when they leave, they have to scan out. So you'll have a line of people otherwise. So I decided to do the barcode so they could scan in and scan out.
That's awesome.
And the teachers, when they're in their Genesis roster, can see where they are because we've set it up that in the lunchroom, the library, the guidance office, the teachers can see in their roster that these kids signed into the library at this time, they signed out of the library at that time. So there's no issue with like, where's Waldo?
Very
That
clever.
happens a lot in middle school. So
Oh yeah.
not with my volunteers, but other kids.
I was surprised when I started my volunteers a couple of years ago that some of the kids that showed up to volunteer, I was like, really? You want to do this? But hey, once they were there and in it, like they were there and in it. So hey, I'm not going to turn them away, but that's awesome. I don't have Genesis, but I'm already thinking about like you could even do a spreadsheet that they could just scan their ID to, and that'd throw a time on it. Oh boy, my brain is spinning with all these awesome ideas that everybody has brought. Boy, thank you. That actually brings us to pretty much the end of our evening here. I'm going to just come on down here and repeat what I said when we started, which is thank you so much for joining us. Do please keep an eye on the PD calendar. Most of the stuff we do is free and open to any school librarians who want to come. So if you got friends other places, tell them to come on by. We love getting our out-of-staters. Thank you, Amanda. So check that out. Don't forget about our YouTube channel. This video will get posted there as soon as I have a couple of minutes to breathe, probably sometime this weekend. And I think that's about it. So thanks, everybody. Really appreciate you coming, and hopefully you got something useful out of our conversation.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you all. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you,
Bye.
Steve.
Bye.
Thank you.